Hello, gorgeous. Let's go ahead and talk about America's chart. So this is the current transit as of August 30th, 2025. And I want to show here, oh my gosh, now. All right. Saturn is going into Aries in the, where is it right about? 5th house, right there, boom. This is a placidus system, so just a heads up, but I need to work on my software for my Vedic astrology system, so it's under, I'm figuring that out. Technical issues with that. Anyways, so we're going to go ahead and use the placidus system for today. So we have the sun also here in the, where is it? 10th house, I believe. Oh my gosh, I cannot see. Yeah, 10th house. We also have Mercury that just entered the 10th house. As you can see right there in our current transit, we have Venus in the 9th house and we have Jupiter in the 9th house, okay? All right, so let's talk about it. All right, I point out these themes because, well, I've been tracking Mercury. A lot of people are paying attention to the other placements, and yes, like Saturn in the 5th house in Aries, we're not going to be able to really be getting away with any illusions or any misconstruction. Like Mars and Saturn are neutral, friends with each other overall, and the 5th house is ruled by the sun, and Mars is an ally of the sun, okay? So the sun doesn't do as well in the 11th house, just as a heads up, but that's a story for another day. I'm just going to focus on some of the transits here, so I'm trying to make it make sense in this video. But I'm paying attention to where Mercury is because I want y'all to see the influence that Mercury is going by, but I have to kind of talk about the other influences at play as well. So Saturn in the 5th house, and the 5th house being like another house of gains through education, through introspection, through consulting and analysis, right? And it's also the house of children, and it's also the house of karma, and it's also the house of a lot of different things, okay? In a nutshell. It's also the house of romance and passion, heat, but minus the love, right? Like temporary love or crushes, okay? So this is like the energy that's happening inside of our, you know, environment, inside of our country as a whole, like just as a heads up, okay? But it being in Aries, right? And then coming to the 5th house, Saturn is entering a big field here, is becoming like a big, you know, massive energy. This, it to me is like the placement that is telling me like, okay, we are going to be like the people that really did the hard work and the challenging work and had the hard luck in their life is finally going to be transitioning or moving or coming to some sort of metamorphosis of some sort, okay? Jupiter being in the 9th house is insane, and also Venus being there is awesome and insane, and it's very important because that tells me that we have luck and we have, and it's in Cancer, we have luck and we have love, right? Co-collaborations, partnerships, romantic endeavors, society, because Venus does rule a huge part of, you know, the way that humans really interact with each other, okay? And this is like super important because now it's in the house of philosophy, it's in the house of religion, it's in the house of distant travels, it's in the house of like basically it's in the house of expansion, like knowledge, wisdom, you know, education, philosophy, okay? Whew. So Jupiter is home in its own house, and you're also adding to the factor that Cancer is here kind of being a big kind of like rulership. So we have these like two placements here like fulfilling a big role, and they're in the house of luck, expansion, the moon being a big player as well, because the moon is going to be affecting, you know, Cancer, since Cancer is ruled by the moon anyway. And so like power, luck, influence, you know, the home is going to be like massive here. You know, all of these things are going to be in theme, like stability, like our financial stability, cars, you know, some sort of generational wealth, you know, also ancestral lineage, you know, psychic abilities, you know, things kind of manifesting, kind of like coming forward, kind of inheriting or absorbing into our bodies, right? Okay, all right. And then you're going to add over here consultation and analysis, and you're going to also throw in, but I'm paying attention to Mercury, right? How is it going to be communicated to us? Through our career, through the public, through also like the place that we spend so much time and energy, right? Is going to be massively hitting our transition of power is massively going to be hitting what we value on a public scale, on like, so there are going to be businesses, you know, I don't want to say small because there are going to be businesses that are going to be taking off, right? And then we also have the sun here in the like same house, or actually, yeah, in the same house, okay? All right. And even though Mars is a malefic planet, it's over here in the 11th house for society, which is going to be sparking creation power, like towards this over here in the 11th house, as the current transit is stating. And that is societal, like norms, like the restructuring of societal norms, the restructuring or the passion to really be changing it up. And Mars right now is in Libra, so the balancing out. So we have a lot of fire, we have a lot of passion, we have a lot of heat rising up. But I'm paying attention to Mercury, like other people are paying attention to the others, but I needed to say all of that kind of side stuff, you know, so that we could get to Mercury. Okay. I have been watching Mercury for a really long time. People are watching other planets, but I'm watching Mercury. Why am I watching Mercury? Because this is the planet that pays attention to our transactions, what we value, even if like it doesn't pay attention to the truth, because Mercury can be trickstery, right? It pays attention to what people decide to value, what it decides to make fame, what it decides to kind of like tell like the whole world as well, right? It can be very like massive or like popular transactions, you know, education, literally schools, right? Like the children, our siblings, all that good stuff. Like, so I'm paying attention to Mercury, and I'm paying attention to where it's at, and I'm paying attention to what it's doing, and I'm paying attention to the fact that like what it's in right now, because like this is how it's going to kind of like that arc of power that transition, that movement, this, how are we going to fight? One, right? Two, how is it going to affect people? How is it going to bounce off? Who are we going to be giving the power and authority to now? How are we going to be silenced? What are the new things to be on the lookout for? All of these good things, okay? But those are the things that I just mentioned. Like, that is like kind of the side influence, and super important too, because Saturn is a big player, right? But I'm paying attention to Mercury because this is what we as the public are going to be deeming as valuable. It's what we're going to be deeming as receiving downloads. It's going to be how it's going to be communicated to us in the news. It's going to be how we see art being communicated. Like, there is so much more to communication than meets the eye. Literally, when we put feelings to words, they perform as rituals or enchantment, okay? But we have to attach that feeling element to it.